Welcome to XRT Party. Today my guest is Summer Wu. We will be talking about Unreal Engine and HoloLens 2 developments. Hi Summer, welcome to XRT Party. Thank you for joining me. Would you like to introduce yourself to start with?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here, Aishikal. So my name is Summer Wu. I'm a program manager on our mixed reality developer platform team, and I specifically am the product owner for our Unreal Engine for HoloLens 2 and mixed reality support.
Yes, Unreal Engine is super exciting. Can you tell us a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. So with Unreal Engine, we've been partnering with Epic Games for just over a year now. So February 2019, we first announced that Unreal Engine support would be coming to HoloLens 2. And we actually just reached our GA, general availability, with the release of Unreal Engine 4.25, which came out first week of May. And alongside that, we released our first version of UX tools for Unreal, which is analogous to our mixed reality toolkit for Unity. And so that provides a bunch of UX tools like buttons and a manipulator and hand input simulation that make it a lot easier for developers to develop mixed reality experiences for Unreal. So we're super excited about that partnership. We've got a lot of awesome features and capabilities that we're excited for developers to play with.
I'm so excited. And having kind of a toolkit like Mixed Reality Toolkit makes a humongous difference for people to get started because there's just so many things that you have to figure out before you get to actually build your application. And having something like Mixed Reality Toolkit allows you to, very fast prototype a tool, which is really nice.
That was I think our biggest top customer request when we released our beta. So between really last summer and then this spring when we GA'd, we'd been working with a handful of bring-up partners, like partners who we'd engaged with before, who we knew were interested in Unreal. And the top ask we got from all of them was, hey, when is MRTK coming to Unreal? And so we knew that in order to GA, we really wanted to have a first version of that available to our developers.
People that you work with, what kind of feedback did you get? Were they happy to work with Unreal Engine? Were they used to working with Unreal Engine to start with?
Yeah, so it's interesting. When we went out to see like who was interested in Unreal, we found out that there wasn't a lot of overlap with our existing Unity customers, for instance. Like the people who were interested in using Unreal were already Unreal developers who preferred it for various reasons over Unity. And so we weren't looking at converting anyone to Unreal, really. We were looking at like opening up the world of mixed reality development to a new segment of developers. And so these groups tend to be folks in industries such as entertainment, sales, marketing, media. Unreal is known for like high fidelity rendering, the ability, because it's open source, to uh, highly optimized performance. It's known for its blueprint system, which like no code, drag and drop logic editor, which kind of enables tech artists and folks who perhaps are excited about visuals but may not have as deep a programming background. It enables them to prototype directly as well. And so Unreal, like bringing Unreal support to HoloLens and mixed reality really opened the door for us to open the door for HoloLens to reach a lot of new use cases that we hadn't seen before.
Yeah, a totally different community there. I can't wait to see. I really like the node-based programming too. It's very useful for a designer, for example. If you are not super familiar with the syntax or don't want to deal with it, even for the developers too, I think it's an amazing tool. It is really exciting.
Absolutely. Like I found it super useful just to quickly be able to prototype uh, something together and use a handful of features without needing to worry about the syntax of, say, C++. In that way, Unreal works really nicely for kind of both types of users. For the people who are super hardcore and want to, highly optimize their performance and program in C++, Unreal gives you that option. And then for those who are happy with, just putting together visuals and programming with blueprints, that's an option as well. And the two can work together very nicely. You don't have to choose one or the other. And blueprints, at the end of the day, they also just compile directly to C++. And so you don't lose much in terms of performance there either.
That is great. I watched your new Unreal Engine demo. It blew my mind and everybody's mind, I believe. Have you seen it, the 5.0 demo?
Yes. Wow. That was such a cool announcement and video to see. And yeah, you see the differences, I think, the priorities of the folks at Epic and what they want to do with Unreal Engine. Like they really want to just push the boundaries of what's possible for technology to do in terms of their poly count and their lighting and their rendering. And so I'm excited to continue working with Epic's XR team and see what we can do in terms of perhaps integrating Nanite and their rendering capabilities for HoloLens. Like maybe there's an option with to integrate that with remoting at some point.
That would be really nice. I want to tell you like where I'm coming from. 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, I used to do scientific visualizations using Autodesk products like Maya. I would render a whole day, only one frame. One frame would take a whole day if I wanted to have a good one, and I had a desktop computer that was, powerful for the time, and I wouldn't be able to use my computer whatsoever. So it is so
Oh, wow.
amazing now to see like with this many polygons, things are happening in real time, interactivity is there. It's amazing.
Yeah, the real-time, I think, work that they've been doing is especially cool.
Yes. What kind of tools have you been prototyping? I know that's not your main job. You have a lot of things to do. I'm actually surprised that you have time to prototype something, but what have you done so far?
Well, I think as the product owner for Unreal, I think it's important to understand the users and in this case, our Unreal developers. And so I think the best way to do that really is to start using Unreal and some of our tools to understand what they're going through. And I think from that also um, help understand and drive our roadmaps. So in terms of what I've been prototyping lately, I mean, in terms of day-to-day, I typically, one of the first people to prototype or try out our new UX tools components when the team first comes out with them. In the UX tools area, we are still quite early. So we released UX tools version 0.8. And the reason we named it 0.8 and not a 1.0 is because it's in that kind of preview phase where we wanted to first release an earlier version to get developer feedback and beef up our offering before and we recognize because it's the first release, there may be breaking changes between 0.8 and 1.0, and so wanted to set the expectations there. But that development is going very quickly, and we're looking to get to close to Unity parity in terms of number of UX features available for developers soon. So lots of work there. In my own time recently, I'm currently working on a version of Beat Saber for HoloLens. And so I recently downloaded Beat Saber for VR and tried it out for the first time. Thought it'd be a fun, it was a rainy weekend. I thought it'd be a fun quarantine activity to do some physical activity indoors. And it's so much fun. And I thought, wow, what if we had a version for HoloLens? And that's a good way, I think, for me to exercise a lot of our Unreal features or HoloLens 2 features in Unreal as well.
That is true, and trying to work on a project is a great way to look back into your documentation as well, because especially when you're looking to do a very specific thing, how easy it is to find, that's a very important thing, and it's not the same thing as having everything listed in our documentation. So I'm sure you will have a lot of contributions to that too.
Absolutely. Documentation is definitely an area we still need to work on, as the feature team is frantically churning out new features, working on keeping up in terms of documentation and making sure that's up to date.
Yes. Um, and I should warn you, you will start to watch people play Beat Saber very soon. Because once you play it, it becomes much more mesmerizing to watch other people do really amazingly fast moves.
Oh man, is that the next stage? Yeah, another thing that's really amazed me about Beat Saber, which is I think one reason why it fascinates me, is that I've realized it's spawned this entire community of developers and people who want to build on top of that platform, mod their own songs. And they have their own songs and patterns and beats available online for you to download and play yourself. And so the fact that there is such a vibrant community that's creating more for that platform, I think that parallels my interest in a broader developer platform, and maybe one of the reasons why I'm pretty interested in this game.
Oh, I was actually going to ask you, how did you end up working with mixed reality?
Oh, how did I end up working with mixed reality? Um, my first encounter with it was when I watched the 2014 Google I/O conference. Remember, one of the announcements at that conference was the release of Google Cardboard. And I saw that, and, up until that point, I just kind of thought of VR as this, like, esoteric um, technology that, only certain people with very expensive headsets could afford to experience or try. But suddenly when I saw the announcement for cardboard, I realized that this was something I could try, just with a smartphone and cardboard. And so I immediately went off and printed the design that they uploaded for cardboard, then traced that, cut out my own Google Cardboard, and interest started there and kept going. So throughout college, I participated in a number of hackathons and uh, developed for VR applications at the time, since augmented reality, I think, wasn't quite there when I was in college. It wasn't until, I believe, senior year that the HoloLens one first came out, but wasn't quite available at hackathons yet. But in college, no, first VR project was on the Oculus Rift. It was a VR music stand. And so the idea was you'd have a music stand with actual sheet music in front of you. You could choose any type of environment you want to play in. So say you're feeling like playing in a field, or you want to play on a planet. You can select what kind of environment you feel most inspired by. And then as you play your violin, the program hears the sounds and then flips the pages automatically for you. So that's first project. And then another fun VR project we did was, we called it Conference VR. And so the idea was to create a platform that could host multi-user conferences. And lo and behold, I didn't know at that point that Microsoft was going to own AltSpace VR. But one of the coolest things was when I got on this team, realizing that, hey, that tool exists. And then at MR Dev Days a couple of weeks ago, it almost felt like a full circle to me that, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I'd uh, built a prototype for a virtual reality conference. And then, a couple of years later, here I am actually attending and presenting at a virtual reality conference. It's really cool just to see how far we've come in a couple of years. So I've been excited about the space for a while, and one of the reasons I was excited about coming to Microsoft was knowing that, the HoloLens team was here, a team that's essentially doing the most innovative piece of technology, I think, in the industry is at Microsoft and at this company. And so I was excited to come here and be a part of it.
Yeah, I feel very lucky to be working close to the HoloLens team and having access to all of these amazing tools as well. It is, I feel like most of the people in this area is have that all the time. This is amazing that we get to work with these new technologies. It's super exciting.
Absolutely. Like not just work with the cutting edge, but, define and create the cutting edge so that other people can work with it. That's been like incredibly just rewarding and amazing to get to be a part of.
One thing we want to do is to enable the students just like yourself who wants to do things. So tell me, what was the hardest thing for you when you were trying to create those apps? It was a long time ago. I'm sure there were less resources everywhere, but uh, can you elaborate on that?
Oh boy. I remember there were so many challenges back then. Documentation, I think, was number one. Just lack of documentation for the features I wanted to use or slightly outdated documentation. And uh, I guess with a smaller community back then, it was much harder to find answers on the internet or Stack Overflow or forums, especially as compared to, say, if you asked a question or looked for something for how to do mobile app development or web app development, got tons and tons of developers and an entire community who will answer right away. But I think especially back then, there were just so few VR developers out there that uh, there wasn't much community knowledge available. And so essentially just whenever we ran into an issue, super challenging to debug. And especially at a hackathon, you don't really get much help with that. And there's very little time to kind of keep banging head at the same problem. And so, yeah, just low quality and lack of documentation, I think, was the top one.
Was there any technical limitations that you guys hit at the time?
Let's see. Technical limitations, I am trying to remember. I'm sure there might have been at the time, and then we might have just found workarounds or given up on a specific feature that we wanted to do. In the end, our prototypes were... Oh, I do remember that for the VR conference project, the demo was nearly impossible because of the Wi-Fi one at a hackathon is typically quite poor when everybody's trying to demo at the same time. Networking and having enough bandwidth to have, a multi-user experience that's performant and um, yeah, can connect people in real time. We definitely had a lot of glitches during our demo. And then similarly, because we wanted to demo a multi-user experience, the sound in a hackathon demo environment was, again, horrible because everyone was trying to essentially yell to explain and talk through their project. And so picking out the sound of the person across the room who are trying to, demo as a conference member, the demo was very lacking. And so that, yeah, might have been more a function of the environment, but networking, I think, is still a technical issue that um, is quite a challenge today in various places.
I think so too, especially in hackathons when everybody is trying to do the same thing and hundreds of students are there. Last January, when we were at the mixed reality hackathon at MIT, the same issues were coming up all the time. It's really tough, yeah. We haven't solved it yet.
Absolutely. And mixed reality development in general, yeah, whether VR or MR or AR, tends to require a lot of networking capabilities. You have limited compute power available on the device. Like mixed reality apps tend to be a lot more graphics heavy or tend to use game engines that require a lot of compute power. And if you don't have necessarily the right equipment, environment, etc.,
Hmm.
definitely a challenge.
Talking about students, I realized that there's just so much to learn when you first get started with mixed reality. There are a lot of concepts and also the tools. So for that, I decided to do a series for 30 days, 30 days of Unreal Engine. I will start as a beginner, which I am a beginner at Unreal Engine, and cover the basic concepts and learn the basics for probably 2 weeks. And then the rest of the 2 weeks, I would like to work on a project. So I hope that other students will follow me, and I'll have all of the resources, codes, and projects on GitHub open for everybody.
That is so cool.
Yeah, I'm actually super excited about it.
And are you going to kind of share learnings and resources? How do we follow along with your journey?
I already made a GitHub repo, saying day one is this, day two is this. And I will
Oh,
have all of the links listed there as well as for the projects. And I'll share the links with you and with everybody
very
else.
cool. Okay, I'll have to make sure like both me and our team follows that. I think the engineers who are working on the Unreal platform every day will be excited to see like how you progress with that and get any feedback you have from that to drive better platform support.
Yeah. I'm very lucky to have a lot of resources and a lot of people to ask questions. So one of the reasons is that, so if there's any problem I would run into, and maybe we'll start to have some conversations with people who are following along, and I'll be able to find the right person to ask the questions, which is the lucky part of
Sounds
working.
great. Well, I will say for the benefit, I think, of other folks who might be listening on this, so if your feedback is on our UX tools and that toolkit, that is an open source project on GitHub. And so we'd love to have any, whether it's feature requests or bug reports or questions, just on that filed as a GitHub issue so that the team can take a look at that, track that. If it's feature request, community can upvote it and respond to that. And then if it's, say, a feedback on the platform, like below the UX tools layer, then yes, you can send that to me directly. Otherwise, for folks who perhaps don't work at Microsoft, the Unreal forums and the Unreal Developer Network are both great places to kind of channel that feedback. And our team at Microsoft monitors those forums very closely as well. And that's essentially been the easiest way for both us and our EPRIC counterparts to keep track of what requests the community has in terms of Unreal support for HoloLens.
Mm-hmm. I'm guessing that the HoloLens Slack channel is also another resource that they can
Yes.
utilize.
The HoloLens Holo Developers Slack channel is great, and there's a Unreal channel specifically in that where I lurk, and I know a lot of other Unreal developers are active there as well.
Oh, awesome. That is really cool. So my question to you is, I am going to build an app in the second part of this 30 day of Unreal Engine. What will be an app that you would like to see?
Huh. I would like to see my attempt at Beat Saber finished. Take on that. But in terms of other apps, I was thinking I have this list of general apps in my head that, at some point I'd love to see built for HoloLens or augmented reality. And so I'm not sure if any of these would, particularly, say, be more suited to being built with Unreal than for something else. But in terms of just useful apps that I think would be awesome at some point to see on a HoloLens, um, in terms of something that can teach and help folks with everyday skills, Like, for instance, when I'm trying to fix something, whether it's fixing a car, fixing a fridge, my house, having a tool like a augmented reality app, HoloLens app for teaching me how to fix stuff and walking through, super helpful. Cooking too, I think would be very helpful. Like I usually have my laptop open and then I'll walk over, I'll, put something together, then I'll go and check the instructions. And by that time my hands are dirty and so I get my laptop all dirty. And I have to scroll down and remember where I am. But with the HoloLens, I know I could just pull the recipe over and wherever I'm standing, I can be right there for reference. I always thought that could be helpful. And then just there's so much I'm excited for, and that may not be, I think HoloLens may not be ready for at the moment, but in terms of what AR could do in the future, especially in the outdoors, with like navigation, helping people who are driving, say, um, sometimes, you can have two opportunities to turn right and figuring out which one Google Maps is telling you to follow. It's very confusing. Um, Outdoor use cases might be out of scope for our current HoloLens device, but maybe in the future it's an option.
I plan to develop for Android as well because most people won't have access to HoloLens, and I want to make this as accessible as possible for students too. So
Oh, very cool. Well, I'm gonna think if something that would work well for both mobile and HoloLens. I'd be happy if you wanted to finish off that Beat Saber clone. Like I said, it's a game I'd love to see just played on the HoloLens. Or a version of Fruit Ninja. Actually, did you ever play Fruit Ninja on phones? Yeah, and then using your hands just kind of as karate chop to, say, have watermelons be chucked up at you. I feel like that'd be
it's a
cool.
great idea, and it's a very simple one too. So that would be very explaining collisions and hand interactions and everything. Oh, that's great. Thank you.
For sure. Or you could, knock down things. I think that could be
Fun.
cool.
Yeah, we can call it how to be a cat. Just for no reason, just knock down stuff.
Yeah, knock down virtual objects.
Yes. Your project when you were a student is really cool too in terms of playing music. One thing I really wanted to do was also to show me feedback because I'm not musically talented at all. So, have you ever played any of the Xbox music games like guitar playing, or like there's a lot of singing games as well?
Oh, I did play Guitar Hero. I can't remember. Is that on Xbox or on another platform? I'm
I
forgetting.
think it's available on every platform. Yeah, I do have one
Okay.
too.
I do remember Guitar Hero. That was always fun. I do think there's a lot of opportunity for like experiences that involve music.
Yes. And
AR.
spatial audio would make a humongous difference in the app that you mentioned because while you're changing your environment, you can also change how the sound effects get affected by the environment as well.
Yeah. Huh. Okay, another idea that just came up could be like putting together your own orchestra or band of some sort. You can place and position different people and sounds in different places. And you really that way could have a like 360 surround sound experience
Hmm,
in that
that
sense.
is true. Oh, great guy.
Learning music as well. Did you say, do you play any instruments or have you aspired to play any
I
instruments?
do have a ukulele. I think it's a must in the Bay Area. Everybody has one. But I don't know how to play. So I do want to learn, and I also do want to learn how to sing. And those games on Xbox give you feedback, so it's super helpful. But you don't get that anywhere else. So it would be really cool thing to have on Hololens, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. also accent reducing too. If I get a feedback in front of me visually, that will be really fun. But that is that is a lot of work to reduce my accent. Um, is there any other favorite games or experiences, AR, VR experiences that you really like?
Let's see. A particularly memorable, I think, VR experience was a friend and I once visited the Void in LA. Not sure if you're familiar with the Void. Yeah, like a location-based entertainment experience. And we did the Star Wars one. And so, oh, okay. So you're familiar with it. Um, initially I remember when I first put on the headset, I thought, okay, it's kind of pixely, like most VR headsets. Not with the Reverb G2 apparently, which just came out, but most VR headsets still kind of looks pixely, and so I thought, okay, you can still tell it's not real, but once it started, I, just the sheer terror I felt when Darth Vader was approaching, like I just dropped my weapon and like crouched in a corner. I was completely immersed in that world, 100%. Uh, And yeah, the fact that VR was able to kind of bring that out of me, unlike any type of 2D experience, was really incredible.
Yeah, I just couldn't get over it for a long time after I get out of that experience. The hardest thing for me was to walk a bridge that was really high up.
Oh, yes, I remember the bridge. That was terrifying.
It was. And my friend who I went to the experience with start shooting me. Just
Oh man.
yeah. So
Yeah, the vibrations, the fact that you could feel when you were being shot at, that was really cool. And then it was kind of a sobering realization to me that like when Darth Vader came and my weapon was no longer helpful and I just essentially crouched, like crawled into a corner and tried to hide. It's like, wow, if I were in the position of, Luke Skywalker or someone in the series, I would be completely useless.
yes,
I would not go and try to take on Darth Vader. I would just run and hide, which is exactly what I did.
I think that's most people. That's more realistic.
Yeah, but that was such a fun experience and really makes me excited for, when anyone can experience something like that when devices get more portable. I mean, we're starting to see with devices like the Quest, you don't need to be hooked up to a PC anymore. You can start moving around in your world.
That is true. Yeah, untethered is a really big thing. That's one thing I really, really like about HoloLens as well. It makes it much easy to work and have it the device on your head for a long time and just walk around as well.
Absolutely. Definitely a huge plus for the HoloLens.
Yes, opens up a lot of possibilities too to work in bigger places or outside in the future maybe.
Yeah, just a lot more portable. And the mixed reality services that the team is working on, I think are going to just contribute to that even more. Because right now, the HoloLens, even if you don't need to have it tethered to a device, there's only a limited amount of compute on the headset itself. But once we're able to use tools like Azure Remote Rendering to do a lot of that compute, all of that compute on Azure, and then just stream it down, I think that really opens up possibilities for what you can do on device. I think especially exciting for a tool like Unreal, which is known for, and the folks who develop for Unreal tend to really care about the rendering, how it looks, and how high quality and detailed those assets are. And so once we kind of integrate that with Azure and are able to like stream those experiences from the cloud, I think that'll just open it up even more.
Yes, What was the reason that you guys choose to partner with Unreal Engine? Was it the performance or the community?
No, I think there were a number of reasons. One, no, it was in demand. We heard it from like mixed reality developers that they were interested in running Unreal applications. And we're hearing from Unreal developers too that they wanted to develop for HoloLens. So Magic Leap supports Unreal, for instance. And so previously, I think for a lot of the mixed reality developers, Unreal developers out there, Magic Leap was their only option. And so, when they heard about the HoloLens 2 and heard about fully articulated hand tracking and such, they wanted the opportunity to run their Unreal apps on HoloLens and take advantage of those features. And so I think one was essentially the demand we heard from our developer community. And then two, just Epic Games is, I think, really pushing the envelope in a lot of areas related to tech. I mean, you saw in the Unreal 5 announcement, um, they're they're excited about these spaces, and of the stuff they're doing as well, I think appeals to a set of folks in media and entertainment. Like virtual production, for instance, is I think um, one of the new industries that we've heard from Unreal developers that they're interested in developing for. Essentially, like setting up virtual sets. So wearing a HoloLens and then being able to, place that part of a set here and that part of a set there to be able to view it in mixed reality on a headset. And so, yeah, there was that opportunity, I think, number two, to appeal to and expand the capabilities or the use cases of HoloLens beyond our initial set of like core, maybe manufacturing, training, enterprise use cases, and then expand to other types of enterprises like architecture and sales, etc. So there's that opportunity to bring HoloLens to a new place or developer platform to a new place. And I think three, we just really love the philosophy of Epic. I mean, they're big into being hashtag open. I think that's a philosophy that our team has really taken on as well. We want any developer on any tool to be able to develop for HoloLens at the end of the day. Now, we're not there yet. We, of course, support certain platforms more so than others, but really we'd love developers anywhere they are to be able to create mixed reality applications. And so, Unreal is, I think, the second biggest game engine essentially in the market. So they were a natural next place to go as we open up our platform.
That is true. I'm also excited about the web developers, which Firefox Reality has been available on HoloLens very recently, and that makes HoloLens development open to so many people and so many other experiences available to the users as well. It's really cool.
For sure. Once we're able to open up, I think beyond game developers to web developers, I think that'll open up an entirely, like, again, a new slew of applications and types of applications that we're going to see.
True. I know that you see a lot of applications. We were together in many occasions working with the partners and at the conferences as well. What was some of the examples of the applications that inspire you a lot?
Now, I still remember actually my first week on this team. I had a chance to meet a bunch of our mixed reality partners at one of our on-campus hacks in Redmond. And a particularly memorable one was a company that was helping doctors basically with surgeries. And so what they would do is, they would take a CAT scan of a person and they would, in a HoloLens, superimpose that CAT scan onto the person's body so that when a doctor is doing surgery, they could essentially see what the inside of a person's body looks like, and then more carefully and finally target the correct areas as they're doing surgery. So it could be annotated. They could be told to, okay, avoid this blood vessel, say here, or avoid this portion, because every body, is different in terms of how things are arranged inside that. But with the HoloLens, they were able to superimpose like that person's CAT scan. And so they could see exactly what was inside that person's body and help them be way more precise in surgery. Like, that was incredibly just inspirational.
So I agree. You're so right. Most of the applications I'm super inspired are medical applications too, because we need them so much more. There's the technology in the medical fields is uh, not that far, and it is amazing what you can do if you can bring the newer technologies to it, just like you mentioned. I talk about it in conferences all the time too. Like I had two surgeries. Both of them was in places that I have two of. And until the very last moment, you go under. People ask you, so which side are we operating on?
Oh man, that's not what you want to hear.
Exactly. And you get asked that 15, 20 times. It's good that they're asking, they're being too careful, yeah. But at the same time, it's a horrifying experience for the patients. And knowing that all of the information they need is in front of them at that right moment is really reassuring.
Mm-hmm. And being able to just call that up. I mean, seeing the impact that HoloLens 2 has had in hospitals for like COVID specifically, again, has been incredibly inspiring.
Yes, with the COVID-19 happening, we are trying so much more to not have any contact with anybody and use the same tools. And I'm sure so many more uses will come out because you can interact with any kind of UI without having to touch anywhere.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us, Summer. This was great to have you in our show and then talk about Unreal and what's to come. And thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me, Aishkal. This was a lot of fun. Hope I'll get to do it again.
Yes, hope I'll see you again. Bye now.
Okay, bye.